Hey everybody, Peteaturner, executive producer and host of the Break It Down show. Today's guest is a friend of Jon and I. We sat down with Sean Ryan, who at first was a client for our handyman business that we had back in the olden times. And steadily, he and his wife became friends of ours. And so when we heard that Sean was going to do the Clipper race, which is it's the world's greatest ocean adventure, raced by people who are like you and I. Like, you don't have to have experience. They'll get you trained up and you do it. And you go out and do an endurance race all the way around the world in the various legs. So Sean took a leg around Great Hope. And let me tell you something, the stories are bananas, the videos are crazy, and you're going to love just the experience that he had and how he shares it with us. I just can't tell you enough, like, how cool this episode is. When you hear Sean describe his day, it's like, why would you even do this? But you do it because why would you do it? It's that kind of an adventure thing. And I'm just excited to have Sean on the show with us. We recorded this show back in the fall, and I've been holding on to it, waiting for a moment where I could really highlight it and say a couple of special things about Sean. Sean and his wife, Debbie, kept us employed and working when we most desperately needed it. And they are wonderful people. And they had us painting and organizing and fixing and sanding and, oh my gosh, so many things. And without their help, I don't know where I would be. And so I owe them a great gratitude and a thanks. They're just such wonderful people. And everybody who knows the Ryans agrees. They're just great people. And now you have Sean with this great adventure. So my heart is filled with kindness, gladness, gratefulness. And as I think about the people that are the Ryans, I'm proud to call them friends. Okay, a couple quick things. How you support the show is this. You can share it. You can buy the shirts. You can tell your friends about it. That's the big thing right now. I'm kind of asking for it now is tell a friend about the show. Hey, I got this podcast. It's really awesome. And it's made by this guy, Pete. And it'd mean a lot to me if you listen to it. And then see what they say. You know, there's something new every day, as you all know. If you're listening around the world, hey, reach out. Send me an email, pete@breakitdownshow.com. I'd love to hear from you. I'd love to hear what you think. What do you want more of? What do you want less of? I love that there are people in dozens of countries that listen all the time. It's just fantastic. Whether you're in North Macedonia, Italy, China now is popping up all of a sudden, India. Thank you for listening. All of these different areas. Malaysia, I see you. Taiwan, Australia, New Zealand, Kat Connor. What up, Kat? So many great people, so many great things. All right, I'll shut up. Save the brave, savethebrave.org. You know what to do. Here comes Sean Ryan.
Lions Rock Productions.
This is Jay Moore.
This is Greg Proops.
This is Jordan Harbinger.
This is Dexter from The Offspring.
This is Nathan
This is
East.
Sebastian Younger.
This is Rick Morata.
This is Stuart Copeland.
This is Mick Gillette.
This is Andy Summers.
Hey, this is Skunk Baxter.
This is Gabby Reese.
This is Rob Bell.
Hey, this is jonleonguerrero.
Hey, and this is Peteaturner.
This is Sean Ryan, and you're listening to the Break It Down show.
And now, the Break It Down show with Jonleonguerrero and Peteaturner.
Can we just cheers real quick?
Yeah, absolutely. Let's clink.
Cheers.
Bottles
Good to see you
on that
guys.
one. Good to see you. Always a pleasure. Of course, the last time we saw each other, we were in the midst of consuming beverages as well.
Beautiful Benicia.
Yeah.
We also, Pete just pointed out that you're going to be, this episode as we hang, it's going to be 620 something.
Maybe 630.
630 something.
Oh my God.
Do you realize that we recorded episode number 2 here?
So if you record like 2 a year, that makes us 300 years old.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Even if you record them 1 a week, that was like 20 years ago.
Yeah.
We do 5 shows a week now.
Yep.
You're kidding me.
Not kidding you.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
We did our episode number 2 was with a guy named Jay Lamb who joined us by phone, but he joined us by phone while we sat at your picnic table back there.
Well, you're kidding.
No.
I should be getting royalty checks.
Yeah.
They ought to be like rolling in.
That's true.
That's right.
So the reason that we asked you to be on our show again, because you have been on our show before, haven't you?
Yeah.
Popping the bubble.
Oh, you were on Popping the Bubble.
That's
another
right.
show that we produced. But
Yeah.
on the Break It Down show today, we want to, for our listeners, we've been friends with Sean for a while, and Sean does adventurous things that this year he has taken the cake. I was at Freight and Salvage in Berkeley enjoying an afternoon festival of some sort, and I got a phone call from you. Or was it either a phone or a text or whatever, but we were on the phone. And I said, hey, Sean, what's going on? And you said, you asked a question about some kind of nautical protocol of some sort. And I said, "Are you calling the right John?" And you went, "Oh, wrong John. Sorry."
I remember that.
And I thought, okay, well, that's unusual. I don't know why you asked a sailing question, but okay. And then I found out not long after that you were asking a sailing question because you had joined a race around the world on a sailing vessel. And I don't know how to say this eloquently because I don't necessarily speak the language. But for our listeners, when you see the clips of guys on a sailboat and they're cranking away at rigging, and the sailboat's leaned over, practically half in the water, and they are, I think the nautical term for it is hauling ass.
That's right.
That ass hauling was what you signed up for over a long, long stretch of ocean. So, first of all, wow. And by wow, I mean holy shit. What on earth were you thinking? How'd you get into this?
Well, I've always sailed, but I've sailed on lakes, and I've sailed smaller boats. So I've always been interested in doing that. But I had a kind of a traditional road, high school, college, straight off to worked, my whole career, and had always wanted to do some adventures and really just never got the chance. And now I've worked enough that I've got a little bit of time where I can, and I'm still young enough where I can try a few of those things. And about 2 years ago, I was listening to a podcast, believe it or not, and they were interviewing a young lady who had sailed around the world, and she had joined clipperroundtheworldrace. She described it, and it just sounded fascinating, and I had to know more. So I rolled into work, Googled this thing up, found out all about it, got excited, walked into my partners, said, "Hey guys, I'm gonna have to go. We're gonna have to figure out a way to, for me to easily disengage." And we did over a few months, and jumped right into training for this sailing event.
Tell us what the event is. I mean, you said the name of it, but describe what we're doing here.
Yeah, so it's the Clipper Round the World race. It's been going on for, I think, coming up on 16 years maybe. Okay. Every 2 years it's run. The race takes about 13 months, and it's a group of 12 boats racing around the world. And the race happens in a series of legs. So there's roughly 8 legs. This year there's 8 legs. And the boats that race are equally matched. So they're exactly the same with regard to the sails and the size of the boat. But obviously the crews and the skippers are different. So the race comes down to the crew and the skipper and the tactical decisions you make.
It's a test of skill and decision making.
Yeah. And in order to do it, most races like this are sailed by professional racers. Like there is something called the Volvo Ocean Race, which is raced by boats very similar to this, but it's professional sailors. This race, which was created by Sir Robin Knox Johnson, he was the first man to, single-handedly sail all the way around the world unassisted. Okay? And he did that roughly 50 years ago.
Wow.
And I've met him. Awesome dude.
Wow.
He's somebody you want on the podcast.
Okay.
So, Sir Robin Knox Johnson. But in any case, he created this race, and because he believed he could introduce non-professional sailors to ocean racing. Okay? So he and one other co-founder founded the race. And they had boats built. They recruited people to sail. And, of course, the big hurdle is you have to train people.
Yeah.
Now, I know how to sail, but I don't know how to ocean race. That's a very different thing. And these boats they're sailboats, but they're like race cars.
Yeah.
Right? And you guys have done some racing.
This is a complicated endeavor.
Yeah, it really is. So when I went to training, I really kind of acted like I didn't know anything. Because I knew, comparatively more than some of the folks, but dramatically less than I needed to know to be competent aboard the boat.
Right.
let's hold that thought for 1 second. I want to take a sidebar with our listeners. Now, Sean Ryan, for those of you guys who don't know him, like Pete and I do, is the kind of guy who decides at some point to build a replica of a Ford Cobra in his garage. And when he takes this endeavor on, he does it in such a way that he's going to build it to exacting standards. It's going to be the best one of those you've ever seen. That's just the way Sean Ryan does things. At some point, talking with his wife, Debbie, about this endeavor, I said, wow, it was great that Sean built that car, and what an amazing result. And she said, when he built that car, I wasn't sure that he knew how to change the oil in a car. So this is what we're dealing with. We're dealing with a guy who decides to dive headlong into something, and he will conquer it in a way that it will feel good and conquered when it's done.
And that car is gorgeous.
And that car is gorgeous.
Yeah.
Where were we?
Thank you for the description of the car. I was here during that aside, so just feeling mildly uncomfortable.
I like this.
Yes, you say
I like
nice
to talk
things.
about you in the third person while you're sitting right next to us.
I was going to jump in and say, yeah, I really do like that Sean.
He's pretty cool.
Yeah.
So when you decide to take this on, the training schedule, you go in humbly, which doesn't surprise me, because you're the kind of guy who would be, and I'm just making this up in my head, but let's say you had a black belt in judo. You might decide to take on another discipline, and as is customary, but whether it's customary or not, you would start the new discipline at white belt and dissect the whole process from the beginning because your mind works that way. When you went after the sailing training, what did you learn that was completely new in the ocean racing process that you hadn't learned as a sailor in the years of sailing that you'd done before?
Hey, this is Peteaturner from the Break It Down Show, checking in real quick to ask you this. John, Scott, and I all support Save the Brave with our time, our location, our effort, and our money. Each month we give a small amount. Do the same with us. Go to savethebrave.org, click on the donate tab, pick an amount that you want to come out each month, and they will handle all the rest. I stand behind these folks. Thank you so much. Let's get back to the show.
What did you learn that was completely new in the ocean racing process that you hadn't learned as a sailor in the years of sailing that you'd done before?
Oh, geez. Literally everything.
Wow.
The boat systems. So even though we're non-professional sailors, we're fully responsible for the boat. Now, there is a skipper and a first mate who are responsible for weather routing and tactical decision-making. But short of that, the boat's raced with roughly 20 people total. The 18 professionals aboard are responsible for ensuring we have water, ensuring the engines are operating properly, ensuring the generator operates properly. So we've got a whole engineering task to perform. Each day you're producing 60 meals out of the galley. So you've got to provision the boat for 60 meals a day. And if you're gone for 30 days, right?
Wow.
It's a lot of meals.
Yeah.
So someone's cooking, too, and preparing meals.
Oh, yeah.
Well, everybody's got to eat.
Yeah.
So you've got everything that you need to do to keep the systems aboard the boat running, including the people, which includes, producing the food. Mm-hmm. And so we're all cooking food.
Proper nutrition, because
all of it, 5,000 calories a day.
Yeah, you're operating at at peak performance.
Yeah. Yeah. There's just a lot to learn there. The cockpits, I was thinking the other day, just in my mind's eye, there's 30 or 40 different lines running into the cockpit of a Clipper 70.
Mm.
And you have to hold on a sec, because I think I understand what you're saying. You're saying cockpit. I'm picturing skipper with a big wheel in his hand, and he's hand over hand
fisherman hat.
Yeah, that is not what you're describing, though.
No, although these boats have two wheels, one on each side, because when you're sailing, when you're keeled over and sailing, you want to be on the high side for visibility, and also you don't want to get hit by waves.
Right.
So you're going to be safer up high. And forward of those wheels, before the mast, all the lines that run the sails of the boat have to come somewhere.
Right.
And they logically get centered right in that cockpit area where people sit.
Mm.
If you haven't seen it, it's overwhelming. And even when you know what all the lines do, if you get up there at, so the midnight to 4 a.m. watch, you're getting up at midnight on the deck. The lines have changed since you've gone down, and you've got a red light on, okay, because we use red lights at night, which change the colors of the lines.
Yes.
Right. So even when you know what you're doing, it's overwhelming.
You have to figure out what you're doing all over again at midnight.
You sit down and you walk each of the lines to try and figure out, okay, what is this line doing for me? This is a 4 guy. This is the primary 4 guy. This is whatever it is, right? And you just walk the lines and figure out where they all are and what they're doing. And then you have to be ready to operate the lines when the skipper wants to tack or, peel a sail or.
So this really is like a cockpit. If you sit in a cockpit of a 7, you're going to be like, holy cow, there's a lot of switches and knobs and fuses and levers and handles and doohickeys and thingamajiggers and all that stuff.
Yeah. But it's all mechanical, and it's all lines coming into the center. And it's really a lot of what you're doing is you're working with winches, winch handles,
and
grinders.
how quickly do you have to make these decisions? Like if you switch in and then you're like, hoist the mainsail and all that stuff. Like, do you have to be ready to go right then, or is there?
Yeah. So there's really 2 phases of the race of each kind of leg. The first phase is usually what is considered a traditional start. There's really 2 phases of each leg of the race. And the first phase is really what most people would consider a boat race. So you're racing around points in a confined area, usually a bay. For instance, we were at Punta del Este, and there's a large bay there, an estuary. And we raced the other boats head to head around these points within the bay. And then at the end, we head straight out. Okay.
So that lap distance, what do you think that lap distance is?
Oh, geez, a couple miles.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's exciting, and everything needs to be done very quickly, as you were asking. Okay.
Yeah.
Like literally on the start, sometimes you start behind a certain point with all your sails down, and on the start, like the gun goes off and people run to their positions and start hoisting the sails and start. Yeah.
Oh, that's fun.
That's absolutely right.
Yeah.
And so that's one start, and that's all very, very exciting. I mean, it's great fun and a lot of hard work, and everybody's working hard. Nobody wants to let anybody down. You got to know what line you need to grab when and what to do with it. So there's a lot of that. And then the second phase, you're open ocean racing. The sails are up. You're hauling ass, right? You're, really moving.
Full steam ahead.
Yeah. And
open water.
When that happens, you might get a heads up, right? Like the wind is kind of easing. We're going to move up to a bigger sail, right? Get the sail on deck. Get the lines run for the sail.
This is a maneuver I didn't even think about.
Yeah. So you do all this, right? And so you're doing sail changes, and so usually that's a little bit more. You get a little bit more of a heads up.
Okay.
Now, what can happen though is, for instance, in the South Atlantic, we were sailing through a series of low pressure systems, and those came with their own little storms, own little squalls and gusts. And what'll happen is this wind will suddenly rise, and you'll have to get sails down quickly. Open ocean racing is really about getting the right sail up at the right time. You usually have a little bit of a heads up about what sail you're going to need when. However, when you're sailing through big systems, little systems like squalls will be there, and the winds can change quickly, and you need to respond by changing sails quickly. And that can get, as the English would say, that can get pretty fruity. So.
What kind of time are we talking about for a sail change?
Well, geez, the pros probably do it in minutes. We would, I think we would feel good if we could change Yankees in 30 minutes. The sails weigh hundreds of pounds.
Yeah.
You're tethered to the deck, right, at all times.
Right.
Because you're in open ocean and you don't want to get washed over.
Right.
And so the tethering slows you down. The weight of the sails slows you down. The sails are generally kept in the sail locker forward, so you send folks in there to hoist it up through the forward hatch. You have people above who are pulling it up on deck, and then you've got to get it on the forestay. You got to hank it on, get the other sail down and out of the way, get this sail up. You've got people running the lines, back at the cockpit. There's a lot going on.
Yeah.
And the whole time the boat is, generally it's at a 30, 35 degree angle. And it's pitching through open seas and large. So not only is it pitching, okay, but there are waves coming over the boat that are sufficient to knock you over.
So you're dealing with pitch, roll, and yaw all simultaneously.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's get some basics down so we can kind of figure out. You're talking about a cockpit. How big is a cockpit? How many people are in it at one time?
So the watches, we said about 20 people on a boat. Watches are about 10 each.
Okay.
You've got you've got 2 people at the helm, the helmsman and the backup.
Right.
So you've got about 8 people in the cockpit. Okay. Now in a sail change, about half those people are going to go forward. 1 or 2 might go below for the hoist and then move back to the cockpit to help manage lines. Right. And so you're going to have a couple people on the foredeck taking waves and getting sails in order. Eventually 4 people in the cockpit working winches or grinders.
I'd like to back off of sail operation for a minute. And
I do want to ask one question.
Oh,
How fast is this boat going?
The boat can go as fast as 40 miles an hour.
Okay.
So it doesn't necessarily sound fast, but these are 35-ton boats, and they're 70 feet long.
Yeah.
And when they're going, like the boat, I think we hit 27 knots, which is a little over 30 miles an hour. And I got to tell you, when you're on one of these things, it's like being on a ski boat, except you're sailing.
Yeah.
And the boats are producing rooster tails along the sides.
Yeah.
I mean, you literally could ski behind a sail.
Oh, absolutely.
That's speed,
absolutely.
You can barefoot.
Yeah.
You're a little small.
They surf on the waves. So when a big wave is coming up behind you, it creates this big long downhill ahead of you. And so the back of the boat will rise, and the boat, when you're sailing downwind, will just accelerate down that wave.
Wow.
And good helms people are working to maintain that surf as long as possible.
Yeah.
So, and it's incredible.
I jumped in on you just to get that last.
Well, I'm glad we did that, because what I'd like to do is talk about the human operation. So as a crew member, especially one of the non-professionals who's trained for this race for, how many months did you train?
Oh, there are months of training, but you spend 4 weeks on the water, all in England.
Wow.
So
now let's talk about, say, a 24-hour period.
Yeah.
Where you wake up and the first thing that you do, and take it from there.
So you wake up several times in a 24-hour period because you're on a watch schedule. So there are 2 watches. So they'll call them port and starboard, or red and gold were the watches on Qingdao, our boat. And I would get woken up by somebody on the other watch about 30 minutes before our watch needed to be on deck. So I'd wake up, I'm in a cot, I'm in a sleeping bag, and what I need to do is stuff my sleeping bag in a cubby along the hull of the boat. And what is that sound?
That's
lots of
the
love
dog
down
tail.
Okay.
And take a nice hot shower.
Yeah,
Probably
right.
not.
There are no showers to be had on these boats. And so you wake up, you and it's a rush, because your whole watch is trying to get on deck so the other watch doesn't wait, right? But you also want as much sleep as you can get.
Right.
So you wake up as late as you can. So you're waking up and you're stuffing your sleeping bag because you got to clear your cot because somebody else.
Because you guys are hot cutting.
Yes.
Yeah.
So the watch coming off, like my cot mate, if you will, the guy who's getting in that cot was going to come down and pull his sleeping bag out and be in there 10 minutes after I got out of it. So. if you have time,
Let me just recap for our listeners. This is on a vessel that is pitched 30 degrees.
Mm-hmm.
And so now just imagine sleeping in under those conditions. Now
Mhm.
waking up under those conditions as well. The boat's underway.
You bring an interesting point into this. In order to stay in your bunk,
Yes.
there are two mechanisms.
Mm-hmm.
The bunks are hinged against the side of the boat. Okay. And so when you get in the bunk and the boat is pitched, you have to raise the bunk so that you're wedged in.
Uh-huh.
Okay. So it literally raises up at an angle.
Wow.
And you fall into the corner between the bunk and the wall of the boat,
Cozy.
the hull of the boat.
Yeah.
And frankly, it's the only way to sleep.
Yeah.
Right. And the tighter you are, the better.
it
Yeah.
So
sleep.
the wall of the boat is something soft then too.
No,
Because like if you're rolling the other direction, your face is on the boat.
it is on the boat. And, in my case, it was in Jody's dirty socks. Okay. Like literally,
Yeah.
that's where he kept his dirty clothes, was in this little cubby.
Yeah.
There are these little cubbies where we store our sleeping bags and our clothes.
Right.
And yeah, I would raise that side of the cot, roll in toward the hull of the boat, which is fiberglass, and I'd lay against hard fiberglass in my sleeping bag and
Try and get some shut eye.
try and get some shut eye. But in addition to that, you have something called a lee cloth, which is a cloth that is the edge of the cot that's away from the side of the boat.
Mm-hmm.
And it too has some cords so that you tie that up high. Okay. And so it's about 1.5 feet tall, and it's supposed to catch your body if the boat bounces.
Mm.
Okay. And I used to ignore these. In training, I ignored them. I'm like, if I wedge up right, I'm never coming out of that
Yeah.
wedge.
How is that theory?
Well,
Well.
I learned that somebody had hit, that a boat had hit a wave, and somebody had bounced out, even though they were highly wedged up, right, with their cot. And the caution went out that everybody absolutely needs to use their lee claws, or somebody's going to break something.
Right.
And
Is that because Lee fell out of his boat one day and he's like, I got
I
to
don't
sew
know.
a sheet.
Yeah, I don't know where that comes from, but in any case, I set up my lee cloth, fastidiously and it's just this one extra thing that you need to do before you go to sleep.
Yeah.
So you kind of do it begrudgingly, but boy, I better do this. Well, I'm glad I did. I was routinely really wedged up and had the cot really up at an angle to keep myself in. Fell asleep and woke up in the lee cloth. So the boat had tacked, was going a different direction, caught a wave. And it's interesting because what happens is, like, the boat will rise, and every once in a while it'll fall faster than you do, and you just remain in place.
Yeah.
Right? In addition, sometimes it'll rise and suddenly it will throw you. It will just simply accelerate, and you'll go whichever way the boat was going at the time it threw you.
Yeah.
And then it will go somewhere else. Okay.
Huh.
And in this case, I was launched up and thrown, and then the boat moved sideways under me, and I was caught by my lee cloth.
Wow.
Had it not been there, I would have hit the wall on the other side of the companionway for sure. Absolutely for sure. And then I would have fallen 6 feet to the floor. And
And that was the day we learned not to begrudge the lee cloth.
that's right. We learned to love that thing. It became our friend.
And how is that sleeping? Are you so exhausted that doesn't matter what position you're in, or?
Kind of, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think everybody was that way.
2 days in.
Yes. First couple of days, you're having trouble sleeping because you're on this weird watch schedule. But then after that, you're exhausted from the work, and you're falling behind on sleep.
Yeah.
So then you're optimizing for sleep. Like, the whole process degrades until you reach like an equilibrium. And what I mean by that is, you start doing your watches and your off watches, and you're thinking, okay, I'm going to hit the head. I'm going to do some hygiene stuff, clean up a little bit. I'm going to brush my teeth. I need to find my
do some reading.
I'm going to do some reading.
Journal a
I'm going to
little
get
bit.
my glasses. I'm going to get the earplugs so I can sleep. I'm going to you go through these things. Oh, and I'm going to fill my water bottle, and I got to change the batteries on my headlamp, and oh, I'm going to grab a brownie because there are a few still out, right? And the truth is, you put that list together, and then you try and execute it on the boat while it's lurching around, and people are sick often, and particularly at the beginning, and then you're like, okay, there's no way I'm going to be able to sleep and get all this stuff done, or there's no way I'm going to wake up and get all this kit put away and get on deck on time, because you got to put all this kit on to go up on deck, all this foul weather gear. And it's a bunch of it, and most of it, fits tightly in certain areas. Like I've got an ocean dry suit, which is just like a big onesie with a rubber-proof zipper that's like scuba grade, and it's got big rubber seals at the wrists and at the neck. Every time you put that thing on, it's like being born again. You're pulling this huge rubber seal over your head, getting it down around your neck. It's tight as all get out. Same thing with the wrists, because if you go in, if you go in over, you don't want it water leaking in. It'll kill you.
So, okay, you've got this list of things. You still need water in your canteen, though. You still need to brush your teeth. You still have to to do all these things.
Yeah, you try and sneak that in. If you can't do it when you're going up on deck, so you take the lee cloth down, you level out your cot. Hopefully you're not falling out while you're leveling it down. Stuff in the sleeping bag, putting away headlamps and things, probably grabbing whatever kit you need to go up on deck. Okay, go to the galley area. You're sitting there. If the world is good, somebody's got a hot cup of tea for you. And because somebody from the previous crew will have come down, they'll have woke you and then kind of made some tea for you or whatever, right? That's hopeful. If we're really having a tough night, nobody's doing that, because everybody's needed on deck. Everybody's doing sail changes, what have you. And then you go up on deck, and and that could be one of two things. Either there's a bunch of work to do. You got to put a sail on deck, take one down below, change sails, peel sails, whatever it may be, or you're on a tack. You've been sailing the same tack. The wind's been at the same direction, and you're just waiting until you're needed. And that can be in the middle of the day if the sun is out. That could be a wonderful open ocean sail where you're looking at birds and seeing, dolphins and whales. Or on the opposite, it could be the middle of the night. Could be freezing cold. You could be wishing you had something to do, and it can be really hard to be out on deck, for hours on end.
And sometimes all 20 hands are up top.
Yeah, they'll call in all hands if somebody gets injured. They'll call in all hands if there's a man overboard. They'll call in all hands if it looks like there's a damaged sail and they need to get it in. There's a lot of reasons they'll call in all hands.
Did anyone go overboard?
Yeah, so in the history of the race, there have been, I don't want to say several, but there have been a handful of MOBs. This year, during the first leg of the race, there was an MOB, and it was a skipper, who was not tethered to the boat, So he took liberties with being tethered.
That's got to be a license revoking.
I believe it occurred at night.
Okay.
This
just gets better and better.
Yeah, I know the guy who was standing next to him when it happened. And, the skipper had run forward to help out with, a problem that they were having with one of the sails. And the boat, like I said earlier, the boat can lurch.
Yeah.
And, you think how the boat moves after you've been on it for days, but there is this random factor. It's like throwing the dice, and sooner or later it's going to do something completely unexpected, and it's going to do it quickly, and it's going to throw you. And either you're tethered and you're safe, or you're not and you have no control. There is no, I know what I'm doing, I'm going to be fine. Right. And so this skipper was thrown from the boat. We're in training during this, 4 weeks of training that we do. We're relentlessly taught MOB drills. And I can't tell you how many dozens of drills I've done. And so Clipper is a very safe organization. They really focus on this stuff. The crew recovered him. The onboard log said 12 minutes. The official number is 17, based on communications with Clipper over the sat phone. But they recovered him in 17 minutes. So at night,
I'm
which
dead
is pretty
in 17 minutes, especially at night, but even during the day.
You got flotation device on you though, right?
good.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
In this case, the first mate had to take over. I believe was in her cot at the time.
Oh boy.
I was told she did an awesome job of taking control of the boat. Came up, didn't bother with follies, took charge of the boat.
And is she putting her kid on, or is she just running up there to take care of
You
business?
just run on. I
Right.
mean, you tether and you have your life vest.
Yeah, but I mean,
but
you'll
you're not
get dry
busy.
later.
Yeah, you'll get dry and warm later. And she apparently got up on deck and took charge of the boat. And the first thing you want to do is turn the boat around, but you've got sails up.
Mm-hmm.
So you got to get the sails down, okay? And it's not uncommon that people going back for a man overboard turn their engine on because they want to drive back.
Oh,
but
no.
if you have a line in the water,
Mm-hmm.
it gets caught in the prop,
Mm-hmm.
and now you can't drive your boat, and you have a man in the water, which
Mm-hmm.
makes the problem even worse.
Right.
So she apparently ordered the sails released. So the big sail at the front of the boat, it looks like a big balloon, is called a spinnaker.
Uh-huh.
On these boats, they're called asymmetrical spinnakers. They're ASIMs. And she ordered the release of that sail, and some of the lines got caught. They didn't run free to release the sail from the boat. And she ran forward and cut the lines, and the sail was cut free from the boat. There goes, $10,000,
Wow.
right? She then
However, this woman is a boss.
she did a great job. That was the story that I had heard, that she had done a great job.
Yeah.
But in any case, they just cut the lines. Then you have to make sure there's no lines running off the boat in the water. They did that successfully. And then
Wow.
they turned around to get the skipper. Again, essentially everything was done inside 12 to 17 minutes. Although he wasn't tethered to the deck, and there are lines, jack lines on the boat, which are these lines that run from the very back to the very front,
Right.
that you're supposed to remain tethered to. Even though he wasn't tethered, he was wearing a life vest. The life vests are auto-inflate, and each life vest has a tracker in it
Sure.
called an AIS beacon, and it runs on VHF, which is the same frequency as the radio,
Right.
and it transmits the location using GPS. So you immediately show up on a plotter as a MOB, and then they got to turn around and
they know where you are.
and find you.
A friend of mine is a podcast, and he had a guy on his show. I think he's Aussie, maybe English, and they were sailing between Australia and like Indonesia or whatever, or on a boat going that direction. But this is not a race. This is like a luxury bachelor kind of tour kind of thing.
Yeah.
And the guy's sick from eating something and being on the ocean, and there's a big storm out. So most everybody's down below, and he goes over, and no one knows.
And most everybody's down below.
And the thing I never realized about when you go over, because you guys are at least prepared. Like you've got a beacon, it turns on immediately. Like, there's countermeasures for all the things that can happen. He falls in. They have no idea. They go all the way to the destination. They're like, "Where's Dave?" And so then they came back. All you get is a little head in the water.
Yeah.
And any amount of waves in between you and that person, you'll never see him. They happen to go right by him. And he's splashing for all he's worth, but they can't see him.
Mm-hmm.
And so then on the next pass back, this is between like long distances, hours and hours, they actually saw him. And it's just like, that's how crazy the man overboard thing can be. Like you think sailing's easy, ships don't sink anymore, but in reality, people fall overboard still. The ships, do sink. I don't know how. The video of you guys in that one storm was like Ron Howard is like, I'm going to direct a storm in a movie.
Yeah.
I want to make it as crazy as I can.
Yeah.
Oh,
was
did you guys see
impossible.
that?
Yeah.
See that video? Yeah. So the storms, I was in awe of the storms when I was in them. Like full on, eyes wide open. As far as you can see, there are enormous breaking waves. And they're breaking like they're on a beach or something,
Mm-hmm.
but you're out in the middle of the ocean. And as they break, the white at the top of the waves is literally blowing off into this mist. And so it's during the day, it's just white everywhere you can look. At night, you just hang on and you're getting hit by random waves and you don't know when they're coming.
Because they're not coming in.
Yeah, there's no
system like a
timing
beach.
to it.
They're coming in from any direction then, right?
Yeah, generally,
And you're sailing around. So you're changing direction. You're
generally sailing. The seas were often behind us
Mm-hmm.
or on a quarter on coming in from behind, but from one side or the other. So the boat had a kind of a roll to it but the seas aren't perfect like that. They're mixed
Yeah.
in these storms. And so you get a lot of random motion that you don't expect.
Did you fall down much at all on the boat?
A couple of times.
Yeah.
And sometimes I got knocked around. I was up on the high side of the boat, tethered, and you get a long tether and a short tether. I was on my long tether, and a wave came over the side of the boat, knocked me full into the cockpit, and filled the cockpit. Okay?
Wow.
And I'm in the middle of the cockpit on my hands and knees, and the water's about at my face level.
Hey, this is Peteaturner from Lions Rock Productions. We create podcasts around here, and if you, your brand, or your company want to figure out how to do a podcast, just talk to me. I'll give you the advice on the right gear, the best plan, and show you how to take a podcast that makes sense for you, that's sustainable, that's scalable, and fun. Hit me up at pete@breakitdownshow.com. Let me help. I want to hear about it.
I'm in the middle of the cockpit on my hands and knees, and the water's about at my face level. Okay, now the water quickly drains out the back because there's nothing keeping it there.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, but it had fully filled, and I was up to my armpits in full on blue water.
Yeah, in a split second. This is the volume of
just
water we're
as
talking about.
quickly as you can. It just as quickly as you can, blink your eyes,
Yeah.
you're immediately awash in a wave of water.
Let's get back to the 24-hour cycle because we just got up and we got on deck.
Yeah.
And the watches, as you described them, there are several in a 24-hour period. So how long is a watch, and how long before you're back off shift and can relax again?
The night watches are 4 hours,
Okay.
and the day watches are 6. Okay. So that gives you 5 a day. So you may do 8 hours at night one night, and the next night you're only going to do 4. But then the next night you do 8. So it kind of rotates. Day watches, you have enough time to get some sleep and then wake up, and maybe you might help the other watch with sails and things because there's sail repair to do. You might try and read. You might try and eat. You might try and get some hygiene stuff done. Everything's done with biodegradable wet wipes for the most part.
Mm-hmm.
And or you might try and get sleep.
So my buddy Brian has rowed across the Atlantic Ocean, and he was saying most of the waste you just put in a bucket, poo in a bucket, and then you get rid of it. It's a similar situation, or do you guys have more of a traditional latrine?
We've got pump heads aboard. There are 2 of them.
So that
Yeah.
luxury you do get
Yeah, you pump.
because you got 20 people.
Yeah.
Boy.
Yeah, that would be a lot of bucket action. That would be.
Any bucket action
And
is
is
a lot
there-
of bucket action.
I know you're racing, but is there time where you're like, there's just no water, so we're all going to go for a swim? Or I'm sorry, no air, so we're all going to go for a swim?
There was on the first leg. So they were coming across the equator. So it's really warm,
Mm-hmm.
and there are the doldrums where there's no wind.
Yeah.
And if the boat's becalmed, you can jump in. Everybody's still got I think they put lines in the water so that there's something to grab. I don't know what they're doing with life vests.
Right.
But you jump in and, so there are times where it's really, you're sailing. You're having a great time.
Yeah.
It's sunny and warm.
Sailing, take me away. That kind of thing.
Yeah.
Right.
That's right.
You got some
Cocktail cruise.
Asti
Right?
Spumante and
Right.
But that's not a lot of what the crossing the Atlantic
maybe
is
some
like.
Riunite on ice.
That's nice. How long was the longest leg that you did?
So I did leg 2 from Punta del Este Uruguay to
Uruguay.
Cape Town, South Africa, and it was 16 days.
16 days
Yeah.
of this cycle that you describe where you're essentially on all the time, except for when you can prioritize rest, because there's always something to do. And rest is just one of the things that you can do. And as soon as that takes priority over the other things, that's when you get to do it.
Yeah.
So the 16 days of that stretch, the amount of sleep that you got, if you were to accumulate it, is how much you think?
Oh, geez. Not as much as I would have wanted,
Yeah.
but not as bad. Once you get into the routine, it's not quite as bad as it starts out. The first few days, you're like, man, if it keeps going like this, I'm going to be a train wreck. And
Mm-hmm.
by day 3, your body, you get in your cot and,
And you're
wedge
out.
yourself in and you're out.
Yeah.
There's no, you don't care about your
Just
glasses.
from exhaustion.
You don't care where your Kindle is. You don't care where your socks are.
Stupid Kindle.
Yeah.
Damn
I mean,
thing.
you're just out. And,
Yeah.
What
What about the rest of the team? The adjustments were the same, or were there people who had done the race before? They knew a little more about what to expect?
Well, so there were people who had done the first leg.
Mhm.
Yeah, most of the boat, this was interesting. Most of the boat had done the first leg. So they already had like 6,000 miles under their belt. So they knew the routine. They knew how to operate the galley and produce, 60 meals. And that job rotated.
I see.
And
And their bodies were acclimated.
Yeah, and everybody kind of went through the same routine. Everybody's got to get used to the watches and get used to the work, and they're a little bit better with the lines, having
Practiced.
having spent weeks doing it.
Mm-hmm.
They knew the line work.
How about nutrition? Because it seems to me that those meals have to be quick to prepare. You can't spend a lot of time on them, and you're talking about calorie dense, nutrient dense.
Yeah, there's not, the food variety goes down a little bit.
Sure.
They do their best, the victuallers, the people who are part of the crew,
Mm-hmm.
who get
Who
assistance,
designed the menu?
who put the menu together and then procure the food. They work really hard to provide variety, but we were on an 8-day cycle. So every 9th day, we were back to whatever we had on day 1,
Okay.
which,
Hey, that's plenty of variety.
yeah, I could have done with half the variety, I was fine. And I think most people, you want the food to be simple. Cooking below is absolutely arduous.
Yeah.
If you're going through a storm.
What were you eating?
Geez, mornings, we were lucky we made pancakes. We often had, we would make yogurt some days.
Mm-hmm.
You have to make it the night in advance. We had granola. The Brits were into Nutella, and I don't know if it was Marmite or Vegemite.
Uh-huh.
The mother watch that didn't do these 4-hour watches, but everybody had to spend a day kind of being mother on the boat, and there'd be 2 people who'd spend all day not doing their watches but making food in the galley, and that started at 4 a.m. And if you got up at 4 a.m. and you were the mother for the day, you could bake loaves of bread, and then for breakfast you'd have baked bread, which they'd slice up and put all sorts of stuff on. And
Wow.
lunches, so there was a lot of pasta.
Mm-hmm.
Trying to think what else. There were lots of meats in meals. Chorizo with potatoes, bangers and mash.
This is not bad. I was expecting to hear a lot of Cliff Bars,
Yeah. No.
protein shakes.
No, I mean, the galley was producing food. Like when you were on,
Yeah, it was honest to
so
goodness food.
Mother's Watch started at 4 a.m. and ends at 10 p.m. that night.
Wow.
So it's a long,
Yeah.
plus you're washing
It's
all
the
the
schedule
dishes.
of a mother.
Yeah. So you bake 2 loaves of bread, then you bake 2 pans of brownies for the afternoon, so they have a snack. Then you start making all the hot liquids and preparing whatever breakfast is, which might
Jesus.
be pancakes.
Yeah.
Then you get all that served as one watch is getting up, and another watch is coming down.
Yeah.
Then you clean it all
Clean it
up
all up.
and start hammering on lunch. you
Yeah.
know. So it's pretty busy, and but you're producing a lot of food. And there's a lot of pressure not to screw up a meal.
Sure.
Like there's nothing like serving a bad meal
And
having everybody, and the on watch, like the 4 to 8 watch is looking forward to dinner.
Yeah.
And they're freezing cold up there. It's getting dark,
Yeah.
and they know dinner's coming, and you're cooking it.
I
And you
burnt
wanna-
the pot roast.
Right. And there's a lot of pressure to get that right.
When you're up there on your watch, and it's just hard. And like your body and your brain have to figure out that this is going to happen. But that subconscious voice that's in your head's like, Sean, you're an idiot. Why did you do this? We can't do this. This is too cold. I'm too tired. I'm too hungry. Talk about those moments as you had to persevere. I know you did it, but there's those times when you have to steel yourself.
Yeah, I think the single hardest time for me, was early on before I had gotten into the watch system. I was tired. And after the first few days, we sailed right into our first low pressure system. And I won't go into any details, but the backside of a low pressure system is pulling air from the south. And we were in the South Atlantic. And what's south of you in the South Atlantic
Is cold.
is Antarctica. Okay. And so this very, very cold wind is blowing, really just blowing, right? I'm freezing. I haven't been getting enough sleep. And it had been consistent, so there was nothing to do.
Yeah.
And so you're just sitting there. It reminded me of, I don't know if it's Robert Frost, but there's a poem about a bird on
poetry into your
on
head.
the bow of a boat, and it just sits there as it gets colder and colder, and it's got nothing to do. And
Yeah.
literally in the poem, I think the bird eventually dies, right? Just kerplunks. And I was thinking, okay, that's me. I'm freezing my ass off.
Yeah.
you're just going to fall
it's-
over.
I'm dead tired. So that was the hardest for me personally. That
Mhm.
I would much rather have chaos on deck and be working the chaos
Yeah.
and be engaged. And there was one time that happened. I came up, there was a watch change, and we were fully on deck. We were coming into a squall. We had our biggest sail out and got hit by a gust, and the boat broached. Fully leaned over. Okay.
Wow.
So the other side of the boat, the low side of the boat, is 6 feet underwater. Okay. The mast of the boat is nearly parallel with the water. The boom is like scratching its way through the waves. I mean, it's
Yes.
probably 6 feet deep into the
Wow.
waves and just plowing like its own little motorboat through the waves with a rooster tail behind it. And then the boat settled and came back up. And the first mate was debating whether or not we should get that sail down because the gust went away, right? And so there was some debate about that. And the next crew came up, and we were like, hey, man, we've got both crews here. We're probably going to get another gust. We should probably
Take that sail down.
take that sail down now. And I was standing by a winch, which controlled one of the lines to this sail. And while we're discussing it, a gust of wind comes along, and the boat completely lays over again. Now, I can't tell you, it is chaos on deck. The boat is laying over sideways. Everybody's hanging on for dear life, literally. And the lines from these sails are whipping around. And if you get hit by one of these lines, you can literally lose
Lose a
hand.
lamb.
Yeah. And one skipper from a previous race almost lost a thumb, just putting his hand out to protect himself. The line came in and hit. And so I'm hanging onto this winch on the high side of the boat. My feet are literally dangling. Okay. And this is early on. And I'm like,
This is
and
what you
I'm
have to
keeping
look
my head
forward
down,
to.
and I'm like, what are we supposed to do now?
Yeah.
Right? Like, I'm unsure of
This
what
was
the
not
next
in the
step,
training.
right? I'm like unsure of what the next step is. And the next thing you know, somebody's yelling, blow the tack. Okay. So the tack line is a line that connects the bottom of the sail to the boat. And if you blow it, okay, if you release it entirely, the sail will pop up and just kind of flag, right? You can imagine that just flagging in the high winds,
Not
right?
catching wind, just flagging.
Well, it turns out I'm on the tack line.
Oh boy.
Okay. I'm on the winch that's on the tack line.
Yeah.
Okay. Because when I came up on deck, I carefully flaked it out the way we're taught to make sure that if I ever need to release it in anger, if you will, like that's what they say in sailing, doing it in an emergency situation,
In anger.
that it will release. Right. And I'm like, how am I supposed to do that? I'm hanging
You're
out of the
holding on
winch
for
so I
dear
don't
life.
fall off the friggin' boat. Right.
Yeah.
And release the tack, everybody on the boat, right? Like 20 people, release the tack.
Yeah.
And
I'm going to do that in just a second.
Yeah. I'm like, wait, that's me. I'm on the tack. I got to get on that shit, right? And the boat starts settling itself back just enough for me to get my feet under me. And I'm supposed to respond, blowing the tack. And I'm yelling it while I'm releasing the tack. And I got the tack off the winch. And it literally, it was like a pile of rope leaping up and running out the block ahead of me. And I've never seen line move so quickly. Like, had there been a limb in there, it would have been lost for sure.
Yeah.
Like, I'm now extra careful about where the lines are and where my feet are.
Ooh, no kidding.
But we blew it, and the line was running so fast that the equipment at the bow of the boat that's supposed to stop it ripped off the bow of the boat.
Wow.
It was full stop. We
How many
lost
pounds
that.
of pressure is that? Give us an idea. Any
God,
guess?
I have no idea.
Yeah.
More than that equipment could
Yeah.
Take, yeah.
And
And it's designed to hold it there.
yeah. And because the line has weight and it had velocity, right? So it's got all this inertia behind it. And you don't think of lines, you don't think of them moving so fast that they actually carry their own inertia.
Yeah.
And but in any case, the kite went up and flagged, and we wrestled to get it on the boat, and it took the whole team to wrestle it back on board the boat and get it down below decks. And once it's below decks, you got to put it back in its bag and get it all set,
Roll it
and
up
in
and
the
get it
bow,
away and ready to go.
and
again.
ready to go for the next launch.
Wow.
So
I love nautical terminology. And I've been waiting to say that I've been on the backside of Pete when he was pulling wind from the south. And it wasn't cold, but the warmth was not comforting. So anyway.
So your grand adventure sailing, what was the outcome? How did you guys do?
Qingdao won that leg of the race.
Wow.
So we were really excited by that.
Yeah.
We think we won. Our skipper and first mate are great. The crew that I got to sail with was great. But in my mind, we won that race because we raced through the storms rather than, we didn't survive the storms. We raced them.
Wow.
We had our race sails up. We had as much canvas up as we thought was safe. And, if Chris, our skipper, thought we needed a different sail, it didn't matter how tired we were. We were getting
You got it up there.
whatever it was.
You even put John Candy's pants up. You didn't
That's
even
right.
care. Yeah.
Well, and I don't know if you noticed the video that you guys watched that where everything's looking pretty fruity. In one of them, the boat's heeled over and a big wave comes over the starboard side of the boat, and it's just, you can't see anything for a moment.
Yeah.
If you look at the sails, there's only one sail up, and it's our main sail, and we've only got about a third of it up.
Wow.
Like, we were fully, they call that reefing. We were fully reefed on our main and had no other sails on deck. Right? So they might have been tied onto the deck, but they were not.
They weren't up.
They were not up.
Wow.
And so we were surfing the boat down waves, like 25, 30 miles an hour with just that little bit of main up. And which just amazed me.
Powered on surf.
The storms were so strong. We were getting 70, 75 knot gusts, and it was full on.
For our listeners who haven't watched that video, it looked pretty damn uncomfortable. It looked uncomfortable to endure for a moment, let alone for 16 days or any part of 16 days. The fact that you guys won is is a testament, like you said, to your skipper's degree of desire to get you guys and the crew's desire to point the thing forward and get the thing done, and like you said, to race rather than endure is remarkable. And frankly, I don't think it certainly doesn't surprise me. I don't think it surprises Pete either that you'd be a part of that.
But actually, I want to ask about that, and this will be my last question. But knowing what you know now, Skipper Sean, does he say, "Hey, we're going to endure these storms because it's just not worth the wind to have to deal with this," or does Skipper Sean say, "Here's what we're going to do: we're going to start surfing"?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I think if you're racing, you're surfing.
Yeah.
If you're racing, you've already made that decision.
Okay, it's already happened once before. Okay.
Yeah, sure. Now, if I'm going to go cross an ocean, okay, like the next time I cross an ocean, I'm going to aim away from the storms and try and enjoy the sail.
Get your Needy on ice.
It's going to be hard work, and it's going to be an adventure, but there won't be
danger and extreme discomfort.
Yeah,
it won't be so fruity.
That's right. And that comes with it. That comes with the racing.
Of the 20 people that you were, on the crew, how many enduring friendships do you leave an adventure like that with?
Oh, geez. Well, you're going to remain connected with all these people. You don't know, like, most people are Brits or Aussies or Scottish or what have you.
Mm-hmm.
But I will tell you this. It was the moments were deeper. Like when we got that sail under control, okay, when we were sure we were going to lose it, okay, and they mark you off points and, and
your sponsor.
We're all standing around catching our breath, looking at each other like, yeah, man.
We did it.
We fucking did that.
Yeah.
Nice.
It's 3 a.m. It's pitch black.
Yeah.
And we wrestled that bitch back into this boat. And it is hauling ass. I mean, we're in the kind of storm that you don't want to be out in. And we're out sailing and we're racing it. And so there's this moment where it's like, everybody's like, you okay? You okay? And I was thinking to myself, I like this place.
Okay. Yeah.
It's exciting, But, and then when we came in at the end of the race and we won, we realized that we had won and we had gotten to the dock. There was this huge celebration for us in Cape Town, traditional dancing and, this kind of tribal music. And
I saw a video of that too. That was remarkable.
Yeah, it was just, you looked at everybody and we're all in tears. Yeah. We're all just like, this was huge for us, right? And we had a special connection because we knew we had helped each other. We all knew that we had suffered in one way or another, tired or discomfort. And we're all happy we were with each other.